What's up, YouTube? It's Aerith, and I'm back again to bring you another video about preservation evokers. A lot of this information will translate to the other healers, so keep that in mind as you're listening if you play something different. Some of this stuff still will translate. Today, we're going to be talking about our item enhancements, our gems, our enchants, our consumables, and pretty much everything that you need to buy off of the auction house to get ready for the upcoming Mythic Plus week and Raid week. Before we get started, I did want to note that today's video is brought to you by strange people with peculiar antennas. Just because you see them doesn't mean that they're not there. And we'll just jump right into it. So getting right into it, we'll start with our item enhancements. The first things that you're going to want to look to get are some gems. So as an evoker for raid, what you're going to want is crit and mastery. And so we'll go for the Sensei's Nelthorite. Sensei's Nelthorite is a gem that will give us with crit and mastery. So this is our bis. For Mythic Plus, we're going to want haste and crits. And this is the crafty Emerald. We're going to use this, I should note, up to about level 17 in keys. But once you get past level 17, you might want to switch over to haste verse as you start to take a lot more damage, especially in the keys that are more dangerous. It is going to be very, very expensive to be swapping your gems around like constantly. So you might do well just putting in Energize Emerald right out of the gates. But I would definitely encourage you if raid is your initial early focus to go ahead and put in the Sensei's Nelthorite. But honestly, like any of these are a reasonable power increase, and you can't really go wrong. One thing to note is there are fierce unlimited diamonds, and you want one of these. But good luck getting them at this point in time. I think that it's going to be a little bit before these are widely available, and certainly before they are um, a price that is amicable. So moving forward, we next will do our enchants. For raid, you're gonna want temporal spell thread. And for keys, you're gonna want the frozen spell thread. Again, the same thing goes with up here. It's gonna get really expensive to try to switch back and forth from temporal and frozen. So you can't really go wrong with either of them. But I would probably recommend going with the temporal spell thread to start and then switching over to frozen once you're able to purchase both of them. Prices are, of course, very, very high right now. They will come down. I don't think they're going to come down in the middle of early mythic progression. If anything, they might even go up a little bit. That's just kind of the nature of the beast right now. For our boots, we're going to want Plain Strider's Breeze. This applies to both Mythic Plus and Raid. Very easy. Now for our cloak, here's another one that we're going to switch back and forth. We want graceful avoidance when we're doing keys, and we want the leech enchant when we are doing raid content. So again, if you have to just pick one, you can't really go wrong. Avoidance is probably better at the end of the day than leech, but it's really hard to say. I'll probably just be putting avoidance on my stuff and then switching to leech for raid and just kind of seeing how they do. If there's a massive like AoE hit in the raid that you really, really want to mitigate, then you can use that avoidance. But at the end of the day, not a massive difference. For chess, very simple. You just want waking stats. For our bracers, we're gonna have the same story again. We're gonna do devotion of avoidance in keys, and we'll get the leech enchant in raid. For our rings, we will take the devotion of mastery for raid and the devotion of haste for keys. Now you can obviously play around with this a little bit. Devotion of crit is also very, very good. For both raid and for keys. It's really just gonna depend on your stat weights. Crit is an incredibly powerful stat. One of the interesting things about preservation evoker is there's not a bad stat for us. Every single one of our stats is actually quite potent. So really, like you're pretty much happy as long as your rings are enchanted. I would definitely avoid the haste enchant for raid though, and definitely angle more towards the mastery. And then for our weapon, of course, we have Sophic Devotion. This is currently a fortune for the rank 3, and I don't expect it to come down anytime soon. Um, Now moving on to consumables. For food, we are going to be obviously using grand banquets of the Kalu'ak. We'll use these in both raid and keys. However, if you are not in a position, if you're plugging, like whatever the case may be, where there's not a feast, you can use a faded fortune cookie, or you can use the haste crit feisty fish food. In raid, you can also use the crit mastery food, but I would probably just angle towards the faded fortune cookie. I think that in keys myself, if we're not using feast, I'll probably be using the haste crit for our farm keys, and then we'll just be doing feast for our progression keys. For our files, we have a lot of interesting choices here, and they all have a little bit of a story that goes with them. So tepid versatility is the first file I wanted to talk about. This is a great file. It gives you a lot of versatility. It's a lot of survivability, and it's a decent chunk of damage. You'll pretty much always wear this in keys when you feel like you might die, like at any point in time. If a key is like terrifying from start to finish, for instance, Ruby Life Pools, then this is a great flask to run. Um, Now, if we're not so scared, then we can use the File of Glacial Fury. We can ilk out a little bit more damage. It is worth noting that this did get stealth nerfed as we left beta. So the numbers that you're used to on beta are not going to be the numbers that you see in the current iteration of the game. It is still good damage. It was around 6.5% of my damage when I hit a target dummy for 5 consecutive minutes, executing the rotation, which is very easy at near perfect efficacy. So you can expect around a 6.5% damage increase from a File of Glacial Fury. For the File of Elemental Chaos is the next one that's worth noting. This is probably our best all-around potion. Um, I think we can use this in keys where we're not especially terrified of the mechanics. We're not especially terrified of dying. But we are a little bit afraid. It does a little bit of everything. So this has 4 different modes. Every minute you're going to cycle through and get an entirely different buff. And each of these buffs has a different strength. So you have your haste buff, which gives you 10% increased movement speed, and a decent chunk of haste. It's a little bit less stats than you get from the tepid versatility, notably. I believe you get 645 stat with a rank 3 elemental chaos, depending on which stat it is, whereas tepid versatility is around 750. So not a massive drop, but it is a drop in stats in order to get that secondary effect. And those secondary effects are actually quite interesting. So the haste mode comes along with movement speed. The mastery comes along with a DR, and the critical strike comes along with a plus percent or plus 2% critical damage caveat. The 2% critical damage is not massive, but it is still pretty big for a burst damage. And it's definitely, especially running as much crit as we do, it's still something that is going to be very good for us. The last one to note is the File of Corrupting Rage, and this is a very interesting one. This is a Kiss Curse potion, of course. It is a toxic potion. So the upside of this is that you get a massive amount of crit. We love crit as evokers. Crit is so powerful, especially once we get our tier set. Crit will just become even more powerful. That said, after you've suffered all of your health, your entire health bar in damage, so you'll be taking damage constantly throughout a key. Once you've hit whatever that amount of health you have, for instance, I have 219,000 health. Once I've taken 219,000 damage, I'm gonna get a dot on me that ticks every 3 seconds for around 11K. And it basically ticks for 25% of our health over 15 seconds. This isn't necessarily a massive dot, but it is very, very possible for this dot to line up with a damage event that is already scary. And when this happens, it's gonna put us on our back foot in a way that we really don't want to be on our back foot. Notably, you can pop when you get that debuff, you can pop Renewing Blaze and turn that into a heal on your party, a heal over time effect. So there is a slight upside there, but a lot of times we're already using Renewing Blaze for the naturally occurring mechanics, and we don't necessarily want to just be sending it to simply mitigate the damage from a File of Corrupting Rage. That said, this is a lot of damage. It is a lot of healing. It is just a massive all around file. So if you feel like you can deal with the dot, then this is probably the way to go. I personally will be avoiding it in everything that is not a farm key, but if it is a farm key that I feel very confident in, I might go ahead and throw it on. Notably, though, this file is currently around 5,000 gold on my server for a single one, which is obviously not tenable for most players. So it's possible you just get priced out of this anyway. And if you do, don't feel bad about going with Tepid Versatility. Don't feel bad about going with Elemental Chaos or Glacial Fury. These are all really good choices as well. For our potions, we have another similar story. Your bags are going to be full of potions. So the first one is our invisibility potion. Not too much to say here. The different ranks of it increase the duration in which you're invisible. So I would just get rank 3 ones. They're not a ton more expensive, and it's going to give you 15 seconds as opposed to the 12 seconds or the 9 seconds. So you might as well just have the full duration. You never know when you're going to need to wait for a second on something, or like something can go wrong. Like how many invis skips have we failed over the years? Probably too many to count. Just get the rank 3s and forget about it. So next we have the potion of elemental potion of ultimate power. What the, that's not what it's supposed to be called. The potion of elemental power. This is a really, really strong potion. We're basically just going to be using these when we're not going to need to invest potion anytime soon, when we're not afraid of our mana, um, and just basically use them off cooldown. You want to always pair this with your deep breath, and you always pair it with your fire breath combo, to get the absolute most bang for your buck. Um, Next we have the potion of chilled clarity. This is more of a raid potion. This is going to give you a lot of mana back, but the caveat is that you have to be still for 10 seconds. It's basically the 10 seconds sit and drink and be AFK from raid for the next 10 seconds. You can use it in keys. It definitely does have applications. I will have them on hand and I will have a keybind so that if I do need it, it's there. You can reach for it. And it does have use cases. I wouldn't write it off, but it's definitely not something you're gonna use regularly. We also have our aerated mana potion, which is just your standard mana potion. It's the worst rate. You're only getting 27,000 mana, which is less than any of the other options, but it's really good in a pinch because you can just slam it, you get the mana instantly, you can move on with your life, you don't think about anything. That is definitely a great option. Um, and then of course we have one further option as far as mana potions go, and that is the potion of chilled clarity. Now this one's a little bit interesting. This one reduces the mana cost of all spells by 100%, but it also increases their cast times by 40% for 12 seconds. So notably, this potion does not impact your empower spells. So as far as like the best bang for your buck, in terms of getting mana back, this is gonna go the furthest. It is toxic, so you will get a dot. The dot is really easy to deal with. Just have a reversion on yourself when you get the dot, and it's not a big deal. Um, that's all that said though. You can pretty much slam this and press all your empower spells and just kind of bat chest for the next 12 seconds. Um, Notably, it goes from 12. This is a rank 2, so it's 12 seconds. The rank 3 is 15 seconds. You still get the same curse, the 40% cast speed, which of course doesn't apply to us because it doesn't work. It doesn't do that to evokers because bless class, I guess. But yeah, I would take the 15-second ones if you can afford them. The 12 seconds okay. Um, so just do what you will in that regard, whatever you feel comfortable with. So then we have a couple of niche ones. So we have the potion of withering vitality. I got a little bit into some of the more interesting use cases for this in my last video, and you should definitely check that out if you want to see a little bit more. This is just a bigger potion that is going to give you a massive heal, and then it applies a nasty, nasty dot. The dot is actually incredibly painful, so unless you are doing something a little bit degenerate with this potion, I would probably avoid it. Definitely know what you're getting into when you pop a potion of weathering vitality. Next we have the potion of gusts. Potion of Gust is pretty cool. It's just basically Goblin Jump on a cooldown, on a Goblin Jump that shares a cooldown with your Potion of Power. I think you should use this as a last case resort, because if you do, then you lose your Elemental Potion of Power, or you lose your Mana Potion just for mobility. Oftentimes when you need that mobility, that added mobility, it's because you were poorly positioned. So in a perfect world where everything is going ideal, make sure your positioning is really good, and then you never need it. But having one in your bags and a keybind for it is also something that you can never really hate yourself for. Um, and then the last thing we're going to talk about today is our runes. For our runes, we're going to use the Howling Rune or the Buzzing Rune. The Howling Rune gives us a sizable portion of haste, which we love haste in keys. The Buzzing Rune gives us a sizable portion of crit. We love crit in keys as well. I would probably angle towards using the crit in raid and the haste in keys, but feel craft at your own discretion. If you feel like your haste is a little bit low in raid, then you can always use a Howling Rune. And if you feel like your crit, you have plenty of haste in keys, then just go ahead and use the Buzzing Rune. These are pretty interchangeable. Ultimately, just do what you like because these are both really good. So that does it for all of our consumables. I did have one interesting note for all you alchemists out there. Um, and this is also another evoker specific tip. Um, but if you're leveling your alchemy, and we're in the bonus hours now. If you're leveling your alchemy, you go down to your specializations. If you choose potion mastery and you go into the frost formulated potions, you can actually get a heal every single time that you use any potion. So this counts towards a health potion, this counts towards a mana potion, it counts towards any potion, you'll get a heal. That heal crits for around 60k, and it just hits for around 30k. This is just worth noting. You can also go down this air path and you'll get a movement speed buff. This movement speed buff is initially 8%, but if you max it out, it goes to 15%. I what I found with the frost formulated potions, and you can see I maxed this all the way out just to be positive that what I was saying is correct. At around 15, it seemed to cap. You would have to test this for yourself. But basically, what I was seeing is with 1 point, the heal was very small. Then at 15 points, the heal was quite substantial. It was critting for 60k, and it was hitting regular for 29k. Then going from 15 to 30, it stayed the same. So I did not get any increased benefit past 15. It's possible because I did level from 0 to 15. I leveled at 0 and then I tested it, and then I went to 15 and tested it. So it's possible that it actually maxes out earlier than 15. I would just go 1 point at a time and then just test it each time and see like how big that heal is. And just to give you an idea of what that heal looks like, we can take a little damage. Let's go over here so that we're not bothered by Chitra not creating Surveyor's Cloth bands. Okay, let's dismount. Surely this doesn't kill me. Perfect. So we're gonna heal. So as you can see, our refreshing mixture healed us for 30,000. Um, that is the standard hits, and we get this heal from going into the frost formulated potions tree. It's also notable and something that is really interesting is that this also transfers through Lifebind, much like our healing potions. This is one of the tips on my last video for the advanced evoker tips. Again, be sure to check that out. Um, but yeah, if you have Lifebind on someone, so if you Verdant Embrace somebody, they get the Lifebind buff. You use a health potion. Not only will your health potion transfer through Lifebind, but so will this refreshing mixture, and you will get they will be replicated with 40% of 29k. And now even further to make things even more interesting, since you also have Lifebind, when you use a health potion in that Lifebind window, it's healing them for 40%, and then it's also replicating back onto you. So you can double dip on your refreshing mixture. You can double dip on the health potion usage that you just put onto everyone else. And the end result is you're going to have 100% health effectively. If you use a health potion with refreshing mixture, it's just a lay on hands effectively. So definitely check that out if you're looking to really min-max your professions. That is definitely the one that gives you the most bang for your buck. You'll also, of course, get the additional duration on your files, and the movement speed is always nice. Just to show you again, the same thing happens when we use a mana potion. We'll just pop our standard aerated mana potion here. Oops. And as you can see, we got the 30,000 heal from refreshing mixture just from using a mana potion. Now notably, you can pop, these are both off the global cooldown, so you can pop a mana potion and a health potion at the same time just to get to double dip. You will, in fact, double dip. You'll get 30,000 heals. And if you have a lifeline window, it's just even more healing being replicated on your team. So don't forget that you can replicate extra healing through a mana potion onto your team in your lifeline window and kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. Um, and I guess that about does it for today's video. I hope that this has been very informative. If you like the video, make sure that you click the subscribe button down below and click the like button. You can also comment if you want. If you are interested in learning more about Evoker or just hanging out with me, you can find me at twitch.tv/eyelashtv, where I'm streaming pretty much 7 days a week for 10 or 12 hours a day. At the time that you're watching this, I'm probably live on stream. So come say hi. Tell me where you came from. And yeah, I guess with that said, see you guys later. Hasta la vista.